Savva from Savva Talk Spurs. How are we all? Is everyone enjoying this lovely day? Enjoying the sunshine? I hope you are. Just doing a quick hour to hour and a half to this afternoon. Like to keep it consistent every Friday afternoon. We have a Q&A session. And by Q&A session, I mean anybody gets to come on and say whatever they like. If you want to come on and tell me I'm wrong, you want to come on and tell me what you think about life. Have Spurs done well in the window? Have they done bad? Are we going to win the league? Are we going to get relegated? This is the show for lots of you. So in the next couple of minutes, I will put the stream link into the chat. As always, please make sure you have internet connection. Please make sure you have internet connection. Lots of people keep coming on. They've got no service, no signal. Have your video on. Make sure you've got a name. and we will take it from there. So where are we? We are, God, how many days out of the window are we? Wednesday night's it shut. So what are we, 5 days from the window? 6 if you include today. Give me your thoughts. Tell me, good window, bad window. Were you expecting a bit more? Did we start well and then stop? It's got a bit quiet our end. Now it seems that we have to loan every one of our squad out before we can bring players in. Is this good? Is this bad? Why is no one buying our players? Why are we having to loan them all? Why are our fans saying we should bring back Ndombele because he scored a goal against the absolute nobodies? All of these questions that will swirl around the universe of YouTube and the internet. So let's start with Sunday. So we have got Nottingham Forest away. Nottingham Forest, it's an unknown one really. In theory, and this is where football is not played on paper, but on paper, you look at Forest and you say, okay, just got promoted. We should beat them easily, right? It doesn't work like that though, does it? Ideally, I think we should go and stick 3 or 4 past them. But newly promoted team, they've got that energy. Every game is a cup final to them, especially at their own ground. They're going to come at us, hit the ground running like they did against West Ham. Granted, we've got more quality than West Ham, but let's see. No Romero again, apparently. I think it will be a tough game. I think we should win. Let's be really, really honest. We should win this game of football. But it's Tottenham Hotspur. Nothing surprises me. Sorry, 1 second. That was it. I'm going to put the StreamYard link in, and then whatever you want to chat about, come in. Feel free to come in. Please don't be annoyed. If I can't get everybody in, or if I have to ask you to leave after being on for a few minutes, please don't get upset. I can't have everybody on for the whole show. So first of all, let's see who's in the chat. And thank you to each and every one of you. We've got Lookman, Son, big up to yourself, saying hi, everyone. Lazy Limey, I said, good morning from a frustrated Spurs fan. Afternoon all from Carl Higgins. Afternoon, everyone from Hasper TV. Afternoon to Carl and Hasper. CD, I said, Savva, I saw your video this morning. The window's been a disappointment so far. No big names, no well signings. Seems like another opportunity missed. Let me know in the chat. Do you agree with CD? Do you not? See, not saying that I'm not happy with a few of them, but not what I was wanting. Fair enough. Simon Cohen, afternoon, Richard. Oh, thank you. Not many people call me Richard, unless you were saying it to someone else. So afternoon to you as well. THFC has said people are coming with new excuses. Simon Cohen has come back and said Paqueta is West Ham bound. And I think that would be a very good signing for them. Sorry, people just don't stop, do they? THFC has said we have a bloated team. I'm guessing that's the excuses people will be coming up with. JGR Make has said, Savva, Conte just spoke about the outgoings at his press conference, saying that now we have loaned them out and sold some of them. He said that we need to buy some players to fill in every role. I mean, it's that, yeah. I mean, this was not rocket science, right? This is a byproduct of getting rid of all these players late in the window, is that now you leave yourselves with 5 or 6 days to do work, which means you're not going to get the top targets you want, which means you inevitably will go after players like Adama Traore. Let me know. What do you think of Adama Traore? Is he for you? Are we buying him as a forward? Is he going to play wing back? You let me know. Tell me. Ian Carter said, big up, Savva. Big up to yourself. THFC said, Conte said, buy before we sell, loaning out. Absolutely. THFC said, I don't think Gill is leaving because we're not buying. It feels to me a bit of a sad state of affairs that we get to the stage where we have to let Brian Hill go before we can actually buy quality into the squad. But listen, it is what it is. As I said to somebody earlier, and I said in my video, I have resigned myself to the fact now this is the window. I am not going to fight it anymore. This is what it is. I think it's been a average window. I have not seen anything amazing. I like Perisic. I like Basuma. The rest I can take or leave. I'm not excited by any of them. But look, it's done now. No point moaning about it. I truly believe that we might see one or two, real kind of benchmark signings, those kind of quality statement signings, but that hasn't happened, and we just go again. Let's hope we've got enough. Big up to Hasper from Hasper TV. If you don't, please go and follow his channel. Really good guy. He has said there are 5 days left of the window. JJR Maker said, so if Tanganga and Hill were going to go, we're going to look to replace them because that's what Conte wants. Otherwise, if we don't get him the replacement, he's going to be furious at the board. Let's see. I mean, I keep hearing that Conte will walk if he doesn't get who he wants. But when you're being paid £20 million a year and you've got, 9-10 months left of your contract, are you going to walk? If someone said to you, go now or get £20 million and stay for 10 months, I think I know what I'd do. Swanix, big up to yourself, my man. He said we should win, but I think it'll be a tough game. I agree. Fuzzy Khan said there are deluded fans who think Vardiel and Bastoni are waiting for us next season. Yeah, we touched on this the other day. I agree, but apparently you're not allowed to say that. It is very interesting. So I've just got loads and loads of sorry, I've just had someone message me saying, why are you always beefing with someone, dude? That is why I've not subbed or followed your content, despite you making some salient points in the brief time I caught, blah, blah, blah. I don't do drama. Are you trying to be lead gunner of the Spurs fan base? Okay, 2 words for him. Jog on. I've got no time for people like that. At the end of the day, I will call out people who mug me off. Basically, if people don't like that, I'm happy for them to unsubscribe. But I have no interest in hearing those sort of opinions on me. So, guys, I'm going to put the link in the chat. And hopefully that's appreciated. I don't know many shows that do this, so hopefully that is appreciated, and hopefully it is giving everyone a platform. North London is go and follow these guys, really good guys. Pete and Harry talking about Tottenham and Arsenal. Looking at the rivalry between the clubs, old games, looking forward to what's happening in the seasons. Please go and follow them. We're all a Spurs family at the end of the day, no matter how many people tell you you're not a real Spurs fan. Fuzzy, don't worry. I understood that you meant Bastoni. Bill has said, all right, Savva. Yes, I am very well. I just had a haircut, just had a little trim. Got some aftershave on, feeling good, my friend. OCD Whiskey has said, afternoon, Savva. Afternoon to you as well. Look, there's lots of people. Foggy Foam is here. The Prodigal Chung is here. Morning from New York City. I like that. Hasper has said, I'm worried if we go to Forest 3-5-1-1. I'm worried if Forest go 3-5-1-1 and flood the midfield. That's always my worry, Has, when we play teams, is if they flood that midfield. I mean, you'd like to think, Has, that we've got far too much quality for Nottingham Forest. And I think that would be a wonderful start. I can see you in the background. I will let you in shortly, Has. Bear with me 1 second, everyone in the chat. Okay, keep getting your thoughts in. I'm going to get a few people onto the show, let them get their questions. And then if anyone would like to ask anything, please do. Please smash that like button. Please subscribe. And all super chat donations do go to the British Heart Foundation. So please keep doing that. I'm going to bring in Hasper and I'm going to again. I'm going to bring in Hasper and someone's got me playing in the background.
It's not me.
Anthony, is that you? You've got in the background.
Is it me, Sav?
It could be. All I can hear is me. Anthony, is that you?
It could be not in a.
There you go. That's the one.
I think we got there. Yeah.
We got there. That's the one. How are you guys? You okay?
I'm trying to figure out how I'm sorry. It's my first time doing this.
We got there. That's the one. How
Okay.
are you guys? You okay?
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how
Yeah, I could still hear me. Somebody's gonna. If you're watching a device that's got me on it, got this show on it, please, you've got to turn that off or remove it or volume down or something. It's got me on it, got this show on it. Please, you've got to turn that off or remove it or volume down or something. Anthony, I'm going to put you on mute for a second, and you're going to have to sort that stuff out. And we welcome Soren to the show. Anthony, I'm going to put you on mute for a second, and you're going to have to sort that stuff out. And we welcome Soren to the show. Anthony, I'm going to put you on mute for a second. You're going to have to sort that stuff out. Anthony, I'm going to have to drop you, my friend, for a minute because I can't hear anything. Right, can you hear me, guys? Are we good?
Yeah. There's no looping now, I don't think.
Good. Just quickly before I come to you, Richard Pugh is in the chat. Hello, Richard Pugh. Nice has said, Savvy, rate the transfer window out of 10. I can't keep doing it. I've done it for months now. I can't. It's not going to change. Paul Shepherd, welcome to you, has said, Savva, you're not the only objective commentator out there. Why have fans focused on you to attack and denigrate? Mate, listen, I'm sure I'm not the only person being attacked. It comes with the territory of being a YouTuber. Some choose to ignore. I choose to call them out on it. Just quickly, boys, I will come to you in 1 second. Expecting Forest to outplay us. Only Spurs can do this. I don't think they will, but we'll see. CD, why is having high expectations such a bad thing? Akon.
Oh my God, really?
I know. Akon. Hang on, I'm going to get Pete in the show as well. Welcome to Pete. Akon. I just want to let you know how this works. The only person who has the stream to StreamYards when I put the show live is me. Then I put it in the chat. If no females are watching and join, I don't know what you want me to do.
Savva,
shall I call some of my missus?
I've self-identified as a woman for this show, so your quote was fine now.
Here's Pete, thank you. I'll just see if my missus is available. I'm sure she'll want to join in some Tottenham chat. Soren, let me come to you. Soren, 5 days of this window to go. It's getting there. It's edging closer. The window's not shut yet. We can't judge it. That sentence is becoming less and less a thing right now. What are your thoughts, mate? Is this what you expected?
It kind of isn't. I think a lot of us did get caught up. I mean, I've said for a long time, when everybody keeps going on about how much money we had to spend, I wasn't believing any of that. But it was so easy after the first week or two to start thinking we were gonna get a lot of top players in. I think the reality is starting to set in that it's probably not going to be much more than what we've got now. I still think there'll be another player or possibly two, but they're not going to be the players that we want. They're not going to be the big names or, we're going to sit by and watch Paqueta go to West Ham. That sums everything up to me. And Kostic, these are the players that could have easily come into our team, and we haven't bothered. So what do you do?
Yeah, no, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, let me come to you. As it stands at the moment, the only real solid link I'm seeing, and again, link being that kind of word that we can associate with rumour, seems to be Adama Traore. I feel like we've gone back in time to January. My question about this first of all, do you want him? And second of all, if Conte wants him, because that will be the soundbite, right? The soundbite will be, well, if Conte wants him, I want him. If we really wanted Adama Traore, why have we waited until the last 4 or 5 days of the window to pick up a player who can't get in the Wolves team and costs 8 million?
Okay, number one, I don't actually want him. If we're going to go for a winger, the one I'd go out of the list that we were linked with was like Anthony Gordon, St. Maximum, and Adama Traore. The only one I'd take is St. Maximum, personally. As for Adama as well, just to reiterate, people forget he went to Barcelona instead of us in January, or whatever window we went for him on. So I don't want a player who actually doesn't want to come to Tottenham, secondly. And, I mean, number 3, does Conte really want him? Does he really want to have to mould another player into a wing-back? Let's be honest, I don't think he does. So I think this is just like last ditch. Oh, we're going to sell Gil. We're going to sell Reguilon. We might need to bring another attacker in / someone else he might be able to mould into like a wing back. Let's go for Adama because he's sitting on the bench at Wolves. So it just screams it's very Tottenham. It's not like a big club way of doing things, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, Pete, let me bring you in here. I mean, there's a number of ways of looking at Adama Traore, and I granted it's not done, you know, and for all we know, this might not happen, but it feels like another one, Pete, that we're buying for versatility. But in you know, he's nearly 27. I don't think he's really ever stood out anywhere he's been, from Villa to Wolves to Middlesbrough, Barcelona. He's never really had that season where you go, wow, is he a right wing back? Is he a right winger? I'm confused by this, Pete. What do you make of it?
I'm in two minds, I'll be honest with you, mate. Way I look at it is I wouldn't want him in the forward line. I don't think he's good enough for that. Right wing back, possibly. For £8 million, I don't think that's a lot of money. He's a bit of an unknown quantity, someone you could throw on because he can scare a few players with his pace. And St. Maximum, I don't think we got bothered. I know I'll be getting him, especially after his performance on Sunday. I wouldn't mind him. But again, his end product ain't amazing, but it's just the effect he has on the opposition players. Once he's beat one, they shit themselves. We saw it on Sunday. He scared the life out of Kyle Walker. And after that, the rest of their back four was all on their eggshells as well. So you think, okay, are we going to get anyone else that can do that? Probably not. If we're Tottenham, do I want it at the start of the window? If you said to me, Charles, I'd have told you to piss off. But where we are now, I think I probably would take him. I mean, we said about it in January. We need him for right wing back, and at the beginning window it was no. At the end of the window, we was all like, yeah, all right, get him in then. It never happened. Between now and January, what's changed at right wing back? Nothing. Yeah, we're still shit there. And the players there are poor. Spencer's nowhere to be seen. So we bought Spencer and hid him away somewhere. So you think, okay, it's not my first choice, but I think where we are.
He's in that trying to loan him out. He's in that hotel where we hid Nkudu for about 2 weeks. Do you remember that?
Is, we made the mistake of letting Nkudu out of there. That was a problem. We should have fucking nailed the door shut.
I mean, at the end of the day, Traore is just Emerson Royale on steroids, isn't it? Everything he just does worse, but with more flair.
He has no
pace. He's got pace, though. He's got pace.
Yeah, but he's the exact same. He's got pace, and he charges at people, and he gets past them, and then he don't do anything.
Oh, I'll take pace rather than nothing, mate. I'm saying it's not my first choice.
What's the point in having pace if you're not going to have an end product to it?
Well, what's the point in having a right back who can't even play football? So there you go. We are where we are. It's a minor upgrade, but it's not a big upgrade.
I don't think it's an upgrade at all. I don't think it's an upgrade at all.
I think he can offer something different.
So I kind of agree with Soren here. I don't think he's an upgrade. I don't think.
I mean, as much as Royale is not a great player, at least he can defend.
Yeah, I don't think Traore would be good enough to play as a wing back.
Guys, I feel with this that, and there is a question coming at the end of this for you guys. I feel that we've got one wing back. I do that a lot with Tottenham. I do this a lot. I feel like we've got one wing back who defensively is all right, but I mean he's a lot better of a YouTube and Instagrammer than he is a footballer in Emerson Royale. And then you've got Adama Traore, who, let's be honest, is he a right wing back? Like, I don't see him playing there for Wolves. He can't get into Wolves' 11 regularly for the last 2 years, right? And is he going to do the defensive work? And I don't mean like, will he just track back? Because yes, he's got a good engine, but can he tackle? Is he good at standing a fault? Do you know what I mean? Like, doesn't this scream, guys? This is the question. Doesn't this just scream again that we want to kind of put a square peg in a round hole rather than go out and buy a right wing back And Soren, I'm going to come to you first because obviously, Soren, your thing you've said to me for weeks now, which is very true, is we've not been linked to any right wing backs all summer. But then why are Darmachare?
It's because of Spence. It's because of Spence.
No, I don't think it's because of Spence, though, really. I mean, I think Traore is just desperation. I mean, personally, I'd rather stick with what we've got than get Traore in because I just don't see the point. Because, we know we've got to upgrade. I don't think any of us disagree with that. But I don't see the point in bringing a player in that isn't an upgrade on any of our players in that position. And I don't think he is. I would rather see Spence get a chance than Traore. Yeah. And as much as we do slate Emerson Royale off, he's not a right. He's a right back in a back four. That's where he should be playing. Now, that has some merits in our team that he is that extra little bit of defensive when we need it, but he can't go forward. There's obviously a reason. Conte is quite happy with him. And I don't for 1 minute believe Conte has gone to Paratici or to leave and said, "Oh, get me Traore." That is not his signing. I'd be gobsmacked if it was. Absolutely gobsmacked.
Well, I mean, Haz, let me come to you on this. Look, so if you could take Soren's sentence just there and say, I don't think that's a Conte signing, I'd be gobsmacked. If you apply most of the signings' names at the beginning of that's how I feel. But what I've said is I'm not going to go angry or mad about the window anymore because it is what it is. We're there. I'm not surprised. But doesn't it just tell you that has Paratici got all these contacts and connections we thought he had? If the fact that this is our right wing back option is Spence from the Championship and Adama Traore who can't get in at Wolves. I'm not being rude. He can't get in at Wolves, right? Yeah. Does this show, has Paratici got those connections? Has he got these links? Because surely if Conte wants a right wing back, these two were not the options in the market, were they?
Well, this is coming from someone who normally defends Paratici, but now I'm getting the vibe that, and I don't know if it's someone else has said this on the show like one time, but he's like signing players he likes. I don't know if you read Alistair Gold's comment in his article or Q&A or something. And he said something like he saw someone warming up on the touchline. I don't know who it was. I think Adama warming up, and Paratici was watching warming up, and he goes, "Oh, he likes the look of him" or something. And I don't know. In the context of signing as a player, it's like someone said on your podcast on this, I don't remember, it was a few weeks ago or something, that Paratici is signing players he likes rather than say players that Conte really wants. I'm not saying that some of the signings are players that Conte didn't want, because I think he would have wanted Perisic, for example. That's almost a guarantee. But there may be some signings in there where Paratici's been like, "Oh, I like this player, let's go sign him." Like with Emerson, if you look back, even back in that window, I think Emerson was someone that Paratici went for, right? Am I wrong? Even back in the Nuno window. Yeah. So is there a trend now where we're late in the window and he's just trying to pick up anyone that he likes just to fill a void of a player leaving? I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Pete, carrying on from that, this is a really interesting one because look, I think it's that balance, isn't it? That as a director of football, you like to think your director of football is not going to come and go as quickly as a manager will, right? They're there hopefully for a long-termish duration. Yeah, maybe 6, 7, 10 years. So there has to be that balance, right, Pete, of getting in players that Paratici can build for the future, but also with what Conte wants now. Do you feel the balance, though, is a bit more at the moment for the future still, rather than this is what Conte said I want going to get them?
Oh, yeah, easy. I don't see... For me, they're supposed to be mates, but if I was Conte, I'd be like, well, you're not my mate. You ain't doing me any favours. I keep getting shafted. Keep shafting him with these players. I can't believe Conte wants these players all the time. We should be... You get a couple of players for the future, maybe one every window, and then you loan him out or whatever. But at our rate, we're buying them, let us know tomorrow, and then we get them, loan them out, they're crap, and then we try and get rid of them again. and we just keep going through that process. Remember Cameron Carr-Vickers? We loaned him out for 10 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a lease. Yeah. We leased him out. We didn't loan him out. It was a 10-year lease. He kept going out every year, and then eventually we sold him. And we're now doing it with Gil. Saar, what's going to happen with him? It's the same old stuff. We're repeating the same mistakes. Just one quickly on Traore. For 8 million quid, it's not worth just having someone like that in the squad who's a bit of a wild card for 8 million quid. For me, I think it depends. He does have something we don't have.
Yeah, but it depends whether that £8 million could be spent on another player, I suppose.
Another kid. Another 17-year-old.
I mean, the one thing, just a slight curveball here, you know, I mean, we're entering a season that's going to be the first time we've ever had a break for a World Cup in the middle. Maybe a lot of these players that we do want don't want to come and don't want to move because they don't want to jeopardise the chance of playing in the World Cup. Now, I know that doesn't necessarily equate to the Italians because they're a little bit like Arsenal. They didn't get to the top competition, did they? So, but, you know, maybe these players just don't, the ones we want don't want to move. And it's been shown, you know, I mean, the likes of Paqueta and things like this, all the fees that were banding around 15, 18, 20 million has proved to be bullshit because they're all going for 40, 50 million, aren't they? So, you know, maybe we haven't got that money we don't want to spend that money because we know we've got it. But
then isn't that
financial power? Remember, someone said yesterday.
But what happened to the 150 million?
Don't start that again.
Can we stop this? Can we stop this fabrication of 150 million? The number of people that when I finish the show, normally it takes about 2-3 hours. You know, it flies around the internet and people start commenting.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I get every time is, Savva, what's happened to this 150 million? I'm like, please stop. Every window, we have money, right? We didn't only buy players this year because we took 150 million out of the club. Like,
no, it's just that they announced it publicly. That's why I'm just asking the question.
They had to by law. They had to.
So it's like, well, there's no get out clause if we don't buy big players now because you basically told us all. That we've got 100.
I mean,
they backed themselves into a corner. But the thing is, the fan base would then make excuses for it.
We might as well get out, like on deadline, we might as well get out the leave you out banners now.
Yeah, but no, has. You go and find me where it said there's 150 million for transfers.
Yep.
You will not find it because it said there is 150 million for on and off the pitch. Now, it didn't say anything about whether it's the men's game, the women's game, the youth game, whether it's for the grass, whether it's for to kill the slugs. There was no mention of 150 million being used for the transfers.
So what I'm saying is, where do you think it's gone?
What's gone?
If there's 150 million, say only 50 million is being allocated to transfers.
Could have gone on the bloody electric bill. That's gone up 80%. Don't forget.
I know, but I'm saying, where do you think it's gone? Do you think it's gonna go to new Cineworld complex that they're gonna build, or do you think
possibly? I mean, for all we know, it could be the money that's been used to pay the money off that we owe on players like Romero, like Kuti, like.
Because I think they pushed the Kulusevski one for another year, for example.
Yeah, I mean, but don't forget, Reguilon has to be paid for this year.
He's been sold, I think, hopefully.
But he's not going for 28 million, which we owe.
Let's call it for what it is, right? First and foremost, I want to separate these subjects, right? So first and foremost, forget that announcement. That announcement had to be made legally for them to do it. They had to legally announce that. And for me, a lot of fans misconstrued that with that being a transfer budget announcement when it wasn't. And this is what we said at the beginning. Now, could they pull any of that 150 million out and add it onto transfers? Absolutely. Could they pull that out and spend on the training ground, which is what they've applied to do, by the way, to the council? I don't know if anyone's seen this.
No, I think I mentioned it.
They've applied to the council to add on another area of the training ground and to update the women's facilities for the women's team, right? Now, we're not talking a few million there. You know, we're talking that will be 50, 60 million pounds of money. Now, that's not to say they have to draw the rest of that 90 to 100 to add to transfers, right? They could draw that in 3 months because it has to be used by the end of the year, right? They could draw that and spend it on, as you said, cinemas, hotels, golf courses. They can do what they want with that. But the problem is our fans misconstrued that was a budget announcement. Now, last window last summer we spent what I reckon about 95 million in the Romero window with Royal and Gill. They never announced at the beginning of that window, by the way, we've got 100 million to spend, did they?
No.
Pete, I'm just going to pop you on mute for a sec because all I can hear is the car. What'd you say?
Yeah, drop me out, put someone else in. I was in traffic, now I'm not. So
All right, come back when you're home.
yeah, all right. See you later.
See you later,
Right.
mate.
I'll put the stream in the chat if anyone did want to join. Then please feel free. And yeah, so Soren, I feel like this whole thing has been really misconstrued. Do you agree, or is there this great big 300 million war chest and we've just been tight with it?
Well, there's never been a 300 million war chest for Tottenham Hotspur. There never will be a 300 million war. Well, not in the current climate anyway. But no, I mean, when it was first announced, you know, I mean, we all looked at it and thought, whoa. But the problem is, and I don't mean this disrespect to people, but most people never read it. Most people just listened to what other people started to roll the ball with, and it's like, oh, we've got this massive transfer. We've got all this money that we already had. We've got the Champions League money. And now we've got an extra 150 million. Now, the thing is with it, you still hear people saying we've got to spend. No, we don't even have to spend it by the end of December. It's only got to be withdrawn. It could sit in somebody's pocket. It could sit under Daniel Levy's bed, you know, matches for the next 10 years. It just means that it has to be withdrawn to be able to for the shares or whatever it is to be available. Now, in hindsight, when we look at it, what's possibly happened is that I think there was every intention to have more money than what we've spent. The problem is all our players are unsellable. Nobody wanted to put a bid in for Ndombele. Nobody wanted to pay for a Lo Celso. Nobody wants to pay for Winks. We were all talking about these players being sold and getting 120, 130 million for them. And we've got...
That's a good point.
Yeah, we've got absolutely nothing off them. So therefore, now when we're scratching our heads, you know, we've spent this however much it works out to be, whether it's 80 million, 70 million, 110 million, which is money we probably wouldn't have spent without selling some of these players before. But yeah, I mean, you know, the concept of having 150 million plus all this other million and this 300 million war chest, well, you know, any Tottenham supporter that really thought that was going to happen, you're more deluded than the rest of us thinking we're going to win the league. So
agreed. And look, just quickly, I've got a point on that, but just before I do, I've got a couple of super chats and a question from Foggy Foam. Foggy Foam said, "Why don't I rate Ali Gold? Because he's the only one reliable apart from the war chest." I think the question here is, it's not do I rate Ali Gold? There's nothing to rate. All of these people who are kind of insiders at the club, like Dan Kilpatrick, Ali Gold, all of these people that I'm told are tier one sources, how much have we heard all window that they've said Spurs are in talks we're this close to, we're doing? None of it's really come off. So I don't really listen to any of it. I've got to the stage now where I literally wait until I see Romano saying Spurs are in talks with so-and-so, and I think, all right, I trust you. I don't, all the others, again, I can't be more clear. I've got no issue with Ali Gold. He probably doesn't even give a shit. No, I am. I don't listen to them because I used to watch shows like that, and I'd watch for an hour of transfer updates, and I'd get to the end and go, I don't know anything that I didn't know before I started. I just heard a lot of names being chucked out. Let me just sum this up. I remember at the beginning of the window, I watched a video that Ali Gold did, and he turned around and he was saying, I've heard that these are the 8 centre-backs that Spurs are going after. This is Paratici's list. And it was Gahey, Vardial, Bastoni, Ibanez, Undercut. Keep going. You know, it was all of these. Not one of them's turned up at the club. So either Paratici is absolutely shocking at his job and couldn't get one of his 8 centre-backs, or it's just throwing centre-backs' names for the sake of throwing centre-back names. Just really, really quickly, Wayne Holland, thank you so much for the super sticker. Great guy, Wayne. Always welcome here. Hope your Leicester City start to get their season on track. They've really struggled. Another super sticker from Wolves FI. Wolves fans, welcome. It's always the fans of the other clubs who give me super chats. It's very funny. Guys, one thing I wanted to say, Soren raised a really good point there. That, first of all, anyone who thought we were spending this 200, 250, 300 million, absolutely, it is delusion. And that's not being rude. It was never going to happen. Second of all, I wonder, like Soren just said, was it a case of if we had sold Ndombele for 40 and Lo Celso for 30 and Reguilon for 30 and got this extra 100 million and Winks for 20 and so forth, would we have seen a couple more big name signings come in? And is this a case of a Levy overcharging for players or just simply they're not wanted?
I think it's a bit of everything, really. I think more worryingly is the fact that we were not told, obviously. When Conte came in, we expected some sort of change in the way we do transfers, and we did see some, but we're still doing the same things the same way as before. We have to sell to buy again. And that was an issue in the past, right? And I do think you bring up a point that, if we sold X player for this amount, X player this amount, but do you really think they'd expect to get the money back for Ndombele? Is Levy that delusional to think that?
I don't think we thought we'd get our money back, but I certainly think we thought we'd get something. But just quickly to skip back on some Savva, the list that you've just said about the centre backs that were like the 8 that we were looking at, how many of those have actually moved?
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I just wonder, like I said, sort of 10 minutes ago, 15, whether it's all our top choices were like, no, we're not moving till at least after the World Cup or next summer or whatever. And this is why we haven't bit the bullet and got any of what we considered our top 5, top 10 choices of positions. And this is maybe why we haven't strengthened properly in the centre-back and right wing-back, because the players we want aren't available. And rather than going and buy a Traore or somebody that's just for the sake of it, maybe Tottenham have learnt a lesson and thought, no, we're not going to go down that route anymore.
Absolutely. Richard Troyer, the guy, by the way, guys, this guy is brilliant. He's my new stalker. He's coming round for dinner next week with me and my fiance. And whilst there, we're going to give him a hair transplant because he looks an absolute shambolic mess. Either man up and come on and talk to me or go away. Bye-bye, Richard. Sort your hair out. Eugene, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Harry. Hi, Soren.
Hey, you're right.
All right. I think it's good afternoon, you guys over there.
Yeah.
It's nearly beer o'clock over here. Don't you worry about that, Eugene.
Yeah.
I passed here for a long time ago. I'm going to reach midnight soon.
Oh, nice. Whereabouts are you, Eugene?
Malaysia.
Oh, nice. Okay, fair enough. All right, you're not drunk, are you?
Oh, no. I just finished work. Not drunk yet.
Eugene, just quickly before we move on to another subject, last thing I wanted to say on this guy, what do you make of the Adama Traore links? Is this exciting for you, or is this typical Spurs?
I think being a Spurs fan for 40 years, nothing excites me much anymore, right? But Adama Traore, if he comes for cheap, somewhere around £10 million, I wouldn't mind him, right? Just, to put him there and show off his oily muscles and all that, I wouldn't mind that too, right? But if he does come on the pitch and he does perform and he does give us another option, right? Apart from Emerson and Doherty. I mean, Doherty is still injured somehow or another, right? I wouldn't mind him for £10 million. Come on, guys. Just be realistic, right? Do you think Levy is going to cough up £50 million, £60 million, £100 million, right, at the deadline day to get players in? No, he's not. He's going to bargain. He's going to hunt, right? We are being scammed again, over and over and over again, right? 40 years being a Spurs fan, 20 over years watching ENIC do their work, and this is what you get. The only thing is this year, right, we got scammed early. All the hype of getting the players in, blah, blah, blah. And it's been 1 month. 1 month. And nobody else has come in, right? Of course, the excuse was, we have to get people out first, right? Then we can bring people in. And that was actually what Conte has been saying, right? But now, Conte, if you watch his press conference, right, he said something like, okay, we've got the players out, and now I've already spoken to Paratici, right? Get me my players. So let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. That's all I can say. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely. I want to move on from that. Just quickly go through a couple of the chats. Sebas Wolf says, Savva, what are your expectations this season? Not being disrespectful, but after listening to all the things that have been said here about the team, I've lost all excitement. Listen, don't lose excitement. Just let's be really clear. I've maintained all window, and Soren will agree with me on this. I've maintained fourth. I've also said if Chelsea don't get a striker, I think we will finish third. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think where people are getting caught up in this whole negative word is, for me, it was just that this was the window to really go at it. That's all it was. That this was the chance. This was the window when everything aligned: the stadium, the manager, the director of football, Champions League. That's all it is. I still see us eclipsing last year's point total and finishing fourth stroke third. I don't think that's...
I don't know how to say that's negative. It's like you're saying you're going to finish like eighth or something.
I think people just hear my name and automatically think I think we're getting relegated. Right?
Okay.
Go on, Sean.
The thing is, just because we're talking that we're not necessarily totally enthralled about the business we've done and the players that have come in, or the lack of players that have come in, or the lack of quality, doesn't bring negativity. It just means you're talking about a current status. That doesn't affect how we feel that the team might do, or whether we think we're going to finish top four, we're going to win a trophy, we're going to win Champions League. We're just talking about a current status. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about something else.
Absolutely. This is it. And look, I'll be honest, I was going to move this on, guys, and say, just before we do, we've got Tyson Fury in the chat as always.
Anthony Joshua.
With,
Big up, Tyson. Big up.
Yeah, so thank you for the super chat. Any trolls, the Gypsy King will spark them out. Thank you very much for that. Guys, I don't know about you. I actually love it when we can actually get to the point where the transfer window is shut and then we can actually just get on with the season. And it doesn't matter for fans like me who are not loved the window, some fans who have loved it. It doesn't matter. We all meet back in the middle, and it's now game to game, and that's what we talk about and analyse. Let me start with you. Has this window felt like an extra long window for some reason, or is that just me because I've done multiple shows about it? What do you think?
It's probably just you. I think it's just the same amount of time, to be honest. I haven't felt like it's any longer.
It is the same amount of time.
It doesn't feel like it.
I just feel like because we did a lot of business early-ish, obviously we haven't done until we signed a 17-year-old like a minute ago. We haven't done much since the first few weeks, right? So it's felt like we've not had much. So say if the transfers were like I think you spoke about this on another show. If the transfers were like all at the end, or now most of them at the beginning, but what if they were spread out? I think the window would feel more linked. But because we've had a lot of transfers at the beginning and then nothing for like a long time, and obviously he's come on and spoken about we've been linked with X player, and obviously nothing's happened.
Yeah,
it's just for me it has felt a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, Soren, just quickly, breaking news. I think I might have seen someone say it earlier, but the Spurs have agreed a $2 million deal with Sheffield United to sign highly rated 17-year-old striker Will Lancashire. He was released by Arsenal last summer. So
there's a backup striker for the season.
That's add him to the list of future signings. Soren, when all is said and done, the window shuts. We're all Spurs fans. We all want the season to crack on. Do you think now more than ever that is needed? It is needed for everyone to kind of jump on the same page and the window to shut.
I think the problem is, if you're like me, once the window shuts, you're waiting for January to come. See, we're going to sign in January. I mean, I remember the days when there weren't actually transfer windows and you could kind of sign players whenever you needed them.
I remember those days.
That was more interesting. But sort of answering a little bit what Haz was just saying with the transfer window, that I think what the problem is, most of us Spurs fans went on holiday for the first month of transfer because we knew nothing had happened. And we just waited for transfer deadline day to see who we were going to sign, Whereas now it's like, what's the point in even watching it? Because we're not going to be signing anybody on transfer deadline day. I mean, look, you get to a point where transfer window starts and you sat there and you're thinking who we might get in, and you start reading that every player that we're linked to is a possibility. And then after 3 or 4 weeks of this possibility, you know every player we're linked to ain't coming. So it just gets tedious then. And, you know, we do seem to have been linked to a lot of players this year. But yeah, come on, let's just get the season going properly. Let's get the window shut. I'm sure the next 6 days are going to be really interesting for us Spurs fans. Still think there'll be a twist. I really do. I still think there'll be a twist. But yeah, get it shut and let's just work out what players we've got.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. It is normally, isn't it? The first month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks of the window. Normally, we're all sitting there going, "Well, this isn't Levy time yet." Do you remember the famous Levy time?
Yeah.
Because we once signed Van der Vaart on the last day of the window. Yeah. It's really weird because I'll be honest. There was a brief moment. Listen, everyone knows that I don't get excited, right? Unless there's cause. But there was a brief moment when we first started this window, and I thought, okay, Basuma and Perisic. I thought, oh, hang on, and then it just sort of ground to a halt about 5 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, cool, we've got loads of time, something's going to happen. And the closer we've got, obviously, all the people that have said window's not shut yet, judge it when it shuts, and I keep saying to them, I've heard that for 22 years, nothing ever happens. Nothing of note. If you look at last sort of couple of day signings in the summer, who springs to mind? Sissoko.
Oh God.
Raziak.
Yeah.
Fraser Campbell. Joe Roden.
Nothing good.
Who?
Nothing good. I'm saying.
Do you see what I mean? So, other than Van der Vaart, when people are saying, "Don't worry, the window's not shut," not one part of me is thinking on Wednesday morning I'm going to wake up and there's a big yellow bar going, Sky Sports breaking news, Spurs in talks with, and I go, no way. I mean, Eugene,
sorry,
am I wrong?
Yeah, but there were Dybala last year, weren't there? You know, we were all.
That was a farce, wasn't it?
But I mean, do you remember?
Big up to Pete. Sorry, mate. Didn't mean to cut you short in the van. Thank you very much for your super chat. He has said every time Paratici cooks, the smoke alarm goes off. Soren, yeah, give me some hope for the last day of the window. Come on.
Well, let's just sort of jump back a few years. Do you remember the season when we signed Modric? Right at the beginning of this, you know, and the whole of the window, it was like, who? We've just signed Modric, you know. We're going to win the league. Bloody hell, you know. What hope is that, look, even if the window shuts today, I think we will look back at it and think, do you know what? It actually wasn't as bad a window as what we do think it wasn't the great window. It wasn't the window we wanted, but it hasn't been a bad window.
Yeah, and
I'll give some
to you, Eugene. Sorry, just before I come to you, and Soren, I've never said it's been bad, right? It just hasn't been. For me, this was a chance to make a statement, to turn around to City, to Liverpool, to Chelsea and go, Jesus, look at Spurs these days. And I feel that other than Perisic, the others could be good. I'm not saying they're not going to be good, but there's no one in there that I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see them pull on a Spurs shirt. And I can't help that feeling inside.
I think what's weird about it though, Savva, when we look at it, you know, if you go through all these type of YouTube channels and listen to all the fans, I mean, I know there's a lot of negativity out there, but then you listen to all the pundits and people like that are saying, you know, Spurs are going to do something this year.
I know.
Think, what are they seeing that we're maybe not?
Isn't there something like in the middle, sort of, and like, yeah, we've improved, but we're not proved enough to like push the top two, really, if we're being honest.
We're not going to push the top two. Well,
I'm saying we'll do better than last season, but
I'll
I don't
rephrase that. No. We could push the top two if Liverpool don't improve. I mean, they've lost one of their best players. So, you know, let's not forget that. They're not playing, but I mean, we know they're going to come good. City might, don't know what universe, but City might fall off the tracks. It could be with the World Cup, you know, it only takes, say, De Bruyne and a couple of other players from City to come back and out for the rest of the season, and we come back, all our players are fit, fighting fit. You just don't know, but There's every possibility, and you know,
Yeah, but guys, let me give you some hope, right? What happened last January transfer window? We were shouting, we were ranting, nothing happened. On the deadline day, we brought in 2 players from Juventus, and look what that happened. These 2 players brought us to the Champions League spot, right? But do you think that's going to happen this window?
No.
That's the
No,
question.
I don't see it. I don't see
No,
it.
but
So
I think we've got those players in already. But I tell you what, the biggest disappointment for me is for this transfer window. It's not necessarily the players that we haven't got in. It's the players that we've not got out and who have gone out for absolutely nothing. That's the biggest disappointment for me. That we see players like Ndombele, Lo Celso, Reguilon, blah blah blah, and they're just not bringing any money. You know why? Why is that? I mean, Bergwijn is gone for what, 25, 28 million? He's worth more than that. If you look,
I wouldn't say so. We signed him around the same fee.
If that player was coming from Inter Milan or someone like that, we'd be paying more than 28 million for him. I'm telling you now.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think Bergwijn's
I've got to agree with Paz on this one. I think Bergwijn's a very limited average forward that is. I think we got good money for him.
I'm not saying we didn't get good money, but what I'm saying is if we were buying him, we'd be paying more than 28 million for him.
It is the sort of player we would buy. Oh no, hang on, no, we did buy him.
Yeah, we did buy him.
We did. Look, I get it, and listen, I hear you as well, Eugene. I mean, look, the last window I felt in January it was very poor, and then the last window we got those 2 out. What I would question is it was 2 players who weren't wanted by their club that Paratici knew very well from having just left Juventus. So I'm not knocking it, and a lot of fans. What I could tell in the last window was the fans who watch European football and the fans that don't. Because all the fans who don't watch European football were saying, oh, these Juventus rejects. I was sitting there going, they are a million times better than the likes of Winks and Lucas and Bergwijn. But it can't be that in one window, right? It needs to be, can Spurs go and do that again this window? Can we get to the last few days and somebody becomes available and Levy says to Conte, do you want this player or not? Rather than constantly bargains, going, look, I've just heard on the grapevine that so-and-so's available at 60 million. He's fallen out of his club, blah, blah, blah. That's what I want to see. But I'm not holding out hope, guys.
Yeah. I mean, the best of it was, I can't remember what stream it was on, but they had a Juventus fan on, and he turned around and said, Benson Kerr will play for you, but he'll be more of a sub. Kulusevski will struggle to get on the bench. And you just look at it and you think, you obviously weren't that much of a fan if you couldn't see Kulusevski coming up, and because he's been the star out of them both.
Yes. Oh, I think again. Look, let's have this conversation quickly. And who's got me on? Okay, good. And then I've got a couple of questions from the chat that I want to ask to everyone. I think that Kulusevski's been a breath of fresh air. Absolutely. I think Bentancur's done okay. I think he's done well. I do think some fans are going massively overboard. Yeah. But I think that was a sign of how bad the midfielders were before Bentancur joined. So for me, and Charlie, I'll bring you in here. Welcome to the show. Bentancur, a good footballer. I think for me, this is only Savva. I need to see him play how he played against Southampton against better teams. Because in the 2 games since, I thought he was awful against Chelsea and the game passed him by. And against Wolves, he looked like he was chasing shadows with Nunes, Moutinho and Neves. I knew there was another Portuguese name in there. Charlie, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Personally, for me, I really like Bentancur. I saw, even before he came to Spurs, I saw him mostly play for Uruguay, actually. And I thought, whenever he's played for Uruguay, I thought he was really good. He kind of, in Uruguay, he kind of plays a slightly different role. In Uruguay, he can't, from what I saw, I might be wrong on this, but from what the perspective I saw, he kind of plays a bit more advanced for Uruguay. Like, he kind of plays in a midfield three, and he seems, from what I've seen, I might be wrong, it might just be my judgment, but he seems to be the furthest forward, and I thought he looked quite good. in that role. But I know what you mean about Bentancur. There's just those games, isn't it, where he's still maybe because he's come from the Italian league, which is a lot slower than the Premier League, and in the Italian league you're going to get a lot more time on the ball. And I think the reason he kind of does these things, where when you kind of say he's poor, it's mostly because of like he'll like lose the ball cheaply and all these things. And I think that's because he could still be adjusting to the pace of the Premier League. We don't know
For sure.
Think, yeah. But I personally, I really like him. I really like Bentancur.
Yeah, me too.
I think even when we signed him, a lot of fans were weren't happy. I was like, yeah, I think this guy's a good player from what I've seen of him. So yeah, I think obviously that every player can improve, but especially with him as well. But I think with him, maybe if we decide to go to a 3-5-2, maybe we could try him in a slightly more advanced role, kind of from what I've seen from Uruguay. You never know. So yeah, that's what I thought kind of was quite interesting with him.
Yeah, listen, I absolutely like him. I mean, Stel, are you online? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm driving. I've got the cam off.
Nice, good. We don't want to see you driving. We don't want to see you at the best of times. Stel, Bentancur, talk to me. How good is this guy? What does he need to do to take it to the next level?
To take it to the next level, he needs to be more creative, especially in the transition, because he does well breaking up play. He's a tidy player. I think he's got really good feet technically. But I feel a bit sorry for him as well, Savva, because he plays in a midfield 2, where sometimes I just feel he's better in a midfield 3. And Højbjerg is not technically on Bentancur's level. So already Bentancur is having to compensate for the lack of technical ability that Højbjerg lacks. I feel if you put Bissouma and Bentancur and a creative mid in front of them, I think that's how you get a better Bentancur. There's only so much an individual can do. It's like there's only so much Romero can do. He's still playing next to Emerson and Dyer. There's only so much we can expect. So, guys, you know what I think of a lot of our players. But for me, I like Bentancur. But for him to go to that next step up, I think we need some better players around him. On an individual level, he needs to find the forward pass quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay, let me come to you on this then. I often feel with central midfielders, sometimes you don't see the best of them until they've actually got somebody to give the ball to. I.e., some people have a job in a team where their job is to win it and give it, right? Almost like what Casemiro's made a career of at Man United: win it, give it to Cruz, give it to Modric, bish, bash, bosh. At Spurs, I almost feel like when Bentancur looks up, it's literally there's nothing around him. It's all the forwards. Do you know what I mean? So would we see the best of Bentancur if he was maybe playing in a trio, and there was a player to complete the kind of triangle in front of them who was a bit more like a Maddison, like a Paqueta, somebody that he could link up with? Would we see a different Bentancur?
Well, I think Bentancur kind of suffers from what he's good at. He's kind of like a jack of all trades, but sort of like not master of any of them. And this is coming from someone who's like a very big Bentancur fan. I actually really rate him. Yeah. And I think because he can play with all the different midfielders that we have, is sort of like put him in a place where you can stick him alongside Højbjerg, but he still has to compensate for Højbjerg's lack of quality, like Stel mentioned before, right? Yeah. Like Højbjerg does a job, but he's not the same level as Bentancur, let's be honest. Yeah. So, because he can play Bentancur could play alongside Skip, he could play alongside Bissouma. I think he'd be all right. He'd do a job.
You've really upset Soren. All I can see is this head going like the Churchill dog. Just like
Højbjerg, he's like, yeah. But in terms of like, I think another weakness that people have kind of like not realized with Bentancur is that he's got, if he looks on the right side, he's got Emerson, right? So how's he going to play a through ball to someone like him?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, you've got Perisic on the side now, but without Perisic, you've got Sessegnon. And Sessegnon, again, he's not the level we need him to be at, let's be honest. So he only really does have Kulusevski, Son, who's been really off form, by the way, the past few games, and even Kane, who has been off form the past few games, to trying to hit it to, like I said, the three forwards. So his passing range is limited in some ways because there isn't like the strength in front of him. There's like maybe 2 or 3 players, but that's it. But you might see a longer passing range of Bentancur if we had good wing backs on a consistent basis, I think.
Okay, let me come to Soren on this. Just before I do, just got a couple of super stickers. So first of all, hello Nico, thank you. And you've got to change your picture now because you have shaved your hair and beard off. So that is not a true representation. So thank you very much for that. And I have seen another super chat, and it's from Gary Rowe, who's saying, our top spend was Richarlison for 60 million. Everyone happy. We'll come back to this question immediately after the Bentancur thing. So thank you, Gary. Thank you, Nico. We'll come back to this one. Soren, try and rise above has pulling at your heartstrings there with Højbjerg. Does Bentancur suffer from playing in a 2? Does he suffer from not having creative players in front of him, or is he doing just a great job as it is?
No, I think everyone's kind of summed it up, and like Charlie said as well, if you watch Bentancur, and he's done it for Tottenham as well, when we've had that midfield 3, all 3 of them have looked better, and our midfielders look strong. And, you know, where everybody slates off Højbjerg, I think you need to just give him a little bit more slack. He's not a bad player. He does all the dog work that nobody else in that team wants to do. And, you know, to be a successful team, you've got to have somebody doing the dog work. Now, yes, he's not as technically adept as Bentancur probably is and some of the other players, but they don't necessarily do that dog work that Højbjerg does neither, that we don't watch because it's not pretty. It's not the fancy football that Tottenham want to play. But it's been shown that when we play well with Højbjerg and Bentancur together, it's strong. But we're playing against teams that are overloading us in midfield, and 2 can't play against 3 or 4. You know, we're going to be overrun. So, in a sense, if we change that system to a 3-5-2, is it maths and crap?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, those players look a lot better because we're not being overrun in midfield. There's too many big gaps. Now, Bentancur is a fantastic player, and I don't dispute that. And I think when him and Højbjerg are in tandem and they're playing well, we look a lot better. But when you've got all the players around them playing shit, you know, I mean, it's like Has said, if you look at our left-hand side, Son is playing poor. So he's in front of that triangle of Højbjerg and Sessegnon. Sessegnon was playing shit. So how the hell is Højbjerg going to have a good game when you've got the left-hand side playing shit? Same with Bentancur. Yeah, Kulu's been all right. He's not been as electrifying as he was towards the end of last season. Then you've got Emerson Royale behind him as well. What help is there for this midfield too? There's none.
You're right. I'll come to you, Eugene, quickly on this one. Then I want to move on to another subject. Look, it's this whole. There's always a debate about how good Højbjerg is and the doggy work he does, and you know, then is he the right partner for Bentancur? Now it's should Højbjerg play at all because you've got Basuma, and what do you make of that whole midfield too, and who should it be for you?
Like what Has and Sora's been saying, right? With Bentancur, sometimes you do see him and sometimes you don't. But I see this season that what's been happening is that he has to track back a lot to do a lot of defending because I think the other teams have actually sussed us out and they're overloading the midfield. And I'm not sure why sometimes Conte is not changing his tactics to try to support the midfield instead of just leaving Bentancur and Højbjerg there to do all the work. And like what Had says, right? You don't have the support of the wing backs. When you don't have the support of the wing backs, when you move forward, what's he going to do? While Emerson is still behind and Kulu's so far ahead of him, what's he going to do? Right? So he's either going to go backwards or try to make a pass to go forwards that most probably will be risky. So, you know, being conservative, then he'll go backwards. Then you give it back to Emerson. And you know, when Emerson gets it, he tries to go forward. When he goes forward, he usually doesn't do anything much with it. Right? Yeah. So at the moment now, Højbjerg, it's hard to say.
Don't
when you
say
see, I'm not saying. I'm not going to say bad. I'm going to say it's hard to say because when you really see him play, right, he actually puts his heart and soul into it. But the sad part is, a lot of Spurs fans says that he's got no creative forward movement, right? So I always think Højbjerg is more like the the defensive midfielder that break things down. That's his job, to break things down. And if he breaks things down, if he passes to Bentancur, and Bentancur has got somebody like let's say now Perisic is on the left, then he's got an eye for Perisic to move forward quickly. At this moment, I see our team playing very sluggishly, very slow. It's like they're taking 3 seconds to think what to do with the ball next. So that's my worry. But maybe along the line, as it progresses with the games coming in, they will move a bit faster. Maybe this is just because of.
But that's why the right wing back thing is such a big issue, because
that's why. That's why I want Adam. We need Traore. We need Traore.
I want to do some. I want to go round, do some quick fire round robins on some questions and stuff from the chat before. And this is going to be the first one. So I'm going to come back to this. Before I do, just really quickly. Which order shall we go in? Let's start with this. Actually, we'll start with this just really quickly. Give me short answers, everybody. Swanex is adamant, like most of the world, that Conte never uses attacking midfielders. I think the word attacking is not the word I've used. He uses creative midfielders. There seems to be this notion that whenever he plays, he doesn't play with creativity, but that is not true wherever he's been. At Juventus, he had Pogba and Pirlo, among others. At Inter Milan, he had players like Barella, Brozovic, Eriksson. At Chelsea, he had Fabregas. And then, as you can see here, I know you say he does, but he played 2 DMs at Chelsea. Fabregas only used 50% of the time compared to Conte and Matic. Swanex, the problem with when people make up stats like 50% is that in the background, when you put that on, I go and actually look at what are real stats, and this isn't true. In that 16-17 season that Chelsea won the league, Matic and Kante played 4 more games than Fabregas. But in that time frame, Fabregas scored 7 goals and got 12 assists. So in 30 appearances, Seth Fabregas got 19 goal contributions. And I don't know about the rest of the panel. We'll go around really quickly. Seth Fabregas, I'm going to put a stat out there, then ask a question which makes it impossible for you to disagree with me. Seth Fabregas is the second most assister, if that's the right word, has provided the second most amount of assists in Premier League history.
Oh, wow.
Right, in Premier League history. And yet I'm told that Conte doesn't like creative players, and yet he got 12 assists that season. Let me start. Charlie, why is there this myth that Conte doesn't like creative footballers? Where, just really quickly, give me a quick answer and we'll move around.
I think what I would say, for the people that are kind of saying it, I think the myth probably comes from the formation. Because if you forget the players in the formation, if you look at the formations that Conte plays, there's not a specific position for a number 10 in those formations. That's where I think people just look at it kind of black and white. Yeah, that formation doesn't include out and out number 10. But I think to actually get the correct kind of narrative and answer to this, you just have to look at his teams, like you said, like Inter Milan, Barella, Brozovic, funnily enough, who used to be a number 10, but he converted him into like a deep line playmaker. So there's all these different things, like Pirlo, as you said, Pogba as well was another one. So yeah, I think it's a myth. People just look at the formation and think, yeah, it's not a number 10, but I don't think it's true at all that he doesn't play with a creative midfielder. They just tend to be like more deep lying rather than an out and out number 10. So yeah, you're absolutely right. To be honest, for me, every team needs a creative midfielder, because otherwise you'll have games where you just come up against teams who will get unstuck. For me, you're just going to get unstuck against kind of teams that play a very pragmatic approach, like Burnley, like Watford, like Middlesbrough last season, where we just came unstuck because we didn't have an out and out either a creative midfielder or a deep lying playmaker. So yeah, I think it's a myth that he doesn't use any creativity. It's a myth.
Yeah, I mean, Haz, I'll come to you quickly. I mean, even then, in the 2 years when Conte was at Inter Milan, Brozovic got 25 goal contributions in 2 seasons from midfield. Again, this is what I mean. There's this myth that he doesn't like players that can create and score goals. But for me, it's purely because we haven't got one at Spurs. Like, none of our midfielders will contribute anywhere near that for goals and assists. What? So, do you agree with Charlie, or is there another reason why people
no,
keep saying?
I don't disagree with Charlie. I was going to say I fully agree with him. I think the formation thing is a big factor in the sense that people think when you play a 4-2-3-1 have a traditional number 10, people be like, oh, well, maybe he'd want one. But people need to also think about the fact that I know this is a weird example, but Kulusevski is sort of like a creative player playing off the right in the 3. He could also play a bit deeper, I think. I do think he has capability of doing it.
Mm.
But in terms of like looking at past players he's used, they've got Eriksen, Fabregas, who for me, if they didn't have Fabregas, I don't think Chelsea would have won the title that year, to be honest. And it's also his usage of these creative players. Like Charlie said, he might play them deeper, he might play them further up. So, and it doesn't fit this whole narrative of playing, say, like a 4-2-3-1. You have a traditional number 10 behind the striker. So people think. But I do think this whole get out clause of Conte doesn't want to create a midfielder is sort of a deflection that we haven't signed one since Eriksen's gone as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, Soren, again, this is what you get a lot with sticking with the same subject, but just to twist the question a little bit. This is what you get. It's, let's say we get a central attacking midfielder, which can be used in different guises. It's who are you taking off to play him? But isn't this where it comes down to it being a squad game, to having different players for different formations,
different games as well?
See,
that's what I mean. Different games, you might need one. Other games, it's not as necessary.
But as daft as it sounds, I was kind of almost going to say exactly the same as that comment. The thing we've, if you look at the past teams that Conte's had when he's had a more attacking midfielder, he's probably not had the 3 players up front that we've got. He might have, he's probably played a 2 or a 1, whereas we've got 3 players. Which one of them 3 players you're going to drop in a theory to put another midfielder in? That's the question. Now, is it going to be?
So we couldn't get a Fabregas type to play in a 2? My point is that no one in our midfield can do that role. Like, I'm not saying. Go on, Phil.
Can I just say, when you talk about who in the front 3 do you drop, you don't play with attacking wing backs. You play with wingers. So Kulusevski becomes a winger. That's how you solve it.
But this is where I was going. That you bring that 5 into midfield, and this is where then that extra midfielder then creates. And to me, as much as he isn't that type of player in the theory of it, that's maybe where we bring Basuma in, because he's maybe not that player that we all suddenly think of. Well, he's this attacking creative midfielder.
Basuma's press resistant. That's the good thing about him.
Yeah,
Basuma.
I mean, the other option is, do we bring Kulusevski more into an attacking position in the centre, because we know he's that's his preferred position, really.
Yeah. I mean, just before I come to you, still to finish off, just guys, we're going to do quick fire rounds, right? I feel like we're quick fire rounds. Eugene, would you like to see another player with? I'm not going to say a central attacking midfielder, just somebody in that team that can assist and score goals. A Fabregas type that did it, a Pirlo type, a Barella. Do we need that in the squad?
SMS. That's the guy.
Yeah. Actually, we do need some play. I mean, we do need a player like that, right? I think during when Conte was with Inter, he brought in Eriksen, right, to more or less be in that role. But he did convert Eriksen slightly. But what I see now is that I agree with all you guys, right? Conte is stubborn. He likes his formation and he'll stick with it. But I think Conte along the way, right, if he develops himself, right, he will understand that he just can't play in this way with these players. So he will need extra cards to play with, right? If he doesn't have that to play with, then he'll get stuck again, right? And then he'll look at the bench and says that I can't bring on another player, right, that can change the dynamic of the game, right? Like what he did during the Chelsea game, right? We were being spanked left, right, and center, but we were still losing 1-0. Then all of a sudden he decided, okay, let's change it a bit. I know it was very risky. He went to a 4 at the back, which I really hate because we know that Davis and Dyer can't do 4 at the back, right? But at least we did get the equalizer, but straight away we lost it back again. Then that's why he changed it back again quickly. So if Conte is that kind of a manager where he will evolve and understand the game himself, because he's an intelligent person, right? He's an ex-footballer, right? He will see he needs to change. So with an extra card in his pocket that he can play, right? With a cam, a creative midfielder, or an attacking midfielder, right?
Yeah.
Apart from Kulu and I mean, for all you know, even Kane could play that position for all you know, right? And Stel, please be careful, Stel.
It's not me. That's not me.
All right.
It's not me.
Right, listen,
Can I just jump on something really quickly?
Really quickly, because I feel like when I said quick fire round, you've all got into these really long monologues. Like
He's just a little picture, Az and Charlie here. Please, guys, remember, this brain's quite old. When you start abbreviating SMS, it's a text message to me. It takes me
I've been wondering who SMS all this while.
I'm still trying to work out what SMS message, you know.
You gotta say Spanish or Malaysian
okay, really quick. Stel, I'm going to start with you. Gary Rowe has said, and please, let's get this quick fire. Gary Rowe, thank you for the super chat, has said, our top spend, i.e. the player we spent the most money on, was Richarlison, 60 million. Is everyone happy? Stel, I'll add on to this question. If I'd said to you at the beginning of the window that our top signing would be 60 million, would you have been happy if I'd said to you that our marquee signing was going to be Richarlison?
No, not at all. I think he's an above average attacker. There's nothing more to him. When's he ever scored more than 10, 12 goals in a season? 60 million pounds, you're looking at a 25, 30 goal a season striker. Jesus, Aubameyang, Kane, Aguero, not Richarlison. So for me, it's a no.
So can I just ask, do you see that as do you see that as failure from the point of view that is the marquee?
Savva, there's a lot of failure.
I know. I picked my words carefully.
Look, if Conte really wants him, and we've done everything we can to get him, then it's not failure. But if we're going to be realistic about building a squad of talented, quality players to win trophies, yes, it's failure.
Yeah. Okay. 60 million, Richarlison. This is your main signing. For me, it kind of feels like when I was little and I'd get up on Christmas morning and I'd automatically go to that big present first and you'd be let down because it was just a big box with something tiny in it. Is that harsh?
No, not for me. If he's a marquee signing, I'm not happy at all. First of all, I'd expect it to be more. I expect marquee signing nowadays to cost like 80 million plus for me. And if it's 60 million is the marquee signing for a player who might not start every game, no disrespect to Richarlison, but he probably won't start every game. That's not a marquee signing for me anyway. So it's not good enough.
Spot on.
Charlie, let me come to you. So off the back of this, I've got fans saying if Richarlison gets 12 league goals, we'll be more than happy. Charlie, your marquee signing, £60 million, 12 league goals, we're happy. Does that not for you sum up the window? That's what we're hoping for from a star player that can't get in the team.
I guess it all depends on what you as you define what marquee means. I guess it depends. If you define marquee by how much you pay for it, because for me, I think Perisic is a marquee signing, even though he's free. Just because of I know he's 33, but just because of what he's going to bring to that team, I think Perisic falls into that category. What I would say about Richarlison, right, is I completely get where you're coming from in the sense what Stel said. His most goals in the league was 11 or something. I think I kind of get that, but you have to. What I would say is, and that might be true. Maybe this season we'll see what he does, but. He was playing in one of the worst Everton teams I've ever seen. That's what I would say. That's where I'd kind of given the benefit of the doubt, because that Everton side, he kind of kept them up single-handedly, if you think about it. So the question is, if you put him in a better team, maybe he contributes more consistently. We don't know. I'm just saying with that, I think in terms of the actual question itself, I think, I know what you mean. I think if you had told me at the beginning he was the kind of the top of the kind of signings, I think I kind of agree. It's not kind of what you'd kind of asked for really at the beginning. Okay. So I think there's different ways of looking at it. It just depends on what you view as marquee in terms of if you view it as the price or just the quality of the player. It just depends how you see it.
Okay. Soren, 60. I don't. My dog's just walked through with a bone that I'm pretty sure I've never bought him. I just have no idea where he's wandered in from. Soren, what's your take on this? And I'm just sitting on the fence here in terms of marquee for me, in terms of the fact that we've gone and splunked what looks like to be nearly 3/4 of our transfer fee, or 2/3, on this guy, and the next nearest signing is 25 million.
Yeah.
What do you make of it? Is he a marquee signing? Is it purely backup?
I think Charlie kind of summed it up great to start with. Take the marquee word away, because he's not a marquee signing. Am I upset that we spent 60 million on him? No, because I think if you look at it another way, we've spent 60 million on somebody to sit on the bench as a backup for when we need him. And that, to me, is progress in a weird way. I know it's a weird kind of way to think about it, but I'm not upset that we spent 60 million on him. If he's the player we wanted, then 60 million, spending 80 million on a player doesn't make him a marquee signing, doesn't make him a successful signing. Like Charlie just said, we got Perisic for free. So, I'm not upset, but could have been spent better elsewhere. But he's a Tottenham player now, and I'm going to back him to the hill. Full stop.
Yep, absolutely. Eugene, let me ask you to round off on this question. Then, my question, I will try and change it up here so we don't get 6 answers the same. The fact that Richarlison, we had 60 million spent on him. For me, what frustrates me more about this is that there were other areas of the team where that 60 million would have been better spent. For me. Just for me. Yep. Could that be some of the frustration from fans with regards to the Richarlison signing, that we acknowledge we need a creative midfielder, a right wing back, a centre back, and 60 million for a bloke to sit on the bench when we've not strengthened those areas could be seen as kind of like pulling the wool over our eyes?
To tell the truth, Savva, right? I don't care about the amount that's been on Richarlison's head. The first things, right? I'm only happy that we did bring in another forward player to actually be able to rotate between Son and Kane. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. We know that we've been overusing these two guys for the past 5 years. To tell the truth, maybe why Son's form is so bad now, because maybe fatigue is catching up. You get what I'm saying? Right? Pity the poor guy. Right? And Harry Kane has not been performing too well for the past 2 seasons in the beginning too. Don't forget what happened last season, right? We had a whole drama with him, was actually being invisible for the first 14 games during Nuno's reign or something like that, 10 games during Nuno's reign. But of course, in the end of the day, if we could have brought in Richarlison to back up the Son and Kane, why couldn't we brought in a better quality center back, right? Mm-hmm. To put Dyer on the bench, right? Yeah. Get someone to cover Ben Davies, right? Yeah. And of course, we got Bissouma now in midfield. Right, that's part of the plan and of course we got Perisic on the left wing. And what about maybe, like you said, the creative midfielder? Why didn't we get those players too? So what I see now, right, it's all just about the club again, how the club is being run, and what's the ambition of our club. That's all. Yeah, it's so clear. It's so clear, right?
Okay, guys. Because by the way, I am only going to go for another 6 minutes tonight. This is not going to be a 3-hour show. I'll be honest. I want to go and meet my boys in the pub in half an hour for a drink. It's been one of those weeks.
The stream running, we'll turn it off.
Yeah. So I do have one more super chat, one more question I'm going to go through with you. Just quickly, Craig Harlow has stated the obvious, saying, yes, Bissouma was 25 because of his contract. Why bring it up as a negative? I wasn't bringing it up as a negative. My point was this. Would Spurs have gone and spent 60 million if he was 60 million, like you said, Craig? No. So no one's ever said it's a bad signing or a negative. My point was that other than a bloke with 1 year left on his contract, our biggest signing is a bloke that's going to sit on the bench. That, for me, is where the injustice is in terms of where the money's gone. We need to stop this word negative, man. It's spreading around like wildfire for people having opinions, and it's just getting silly. Last question for you all is this. Philo123 Coys, I think I saw a message from him earlier as well, basically saying the fact that we have to keep buying so many young players is demonstrating that our academy isn't very good. Now, I'll start with this one. I feel two ways about this. I feel that every club should buy young players. I don't think there's anything wrong with that model. But I do feel that we buy a lot of young players whilst not producing anything from our youth team. It does feel like a bit of a conundrum. I'm going to ask for 1 minute from each of you because I do have 6 minutes left. And thank you for the super chat, Phil. 123 coins. Stel, let me start with you. Are we buying too many young players? Should we be bringing more through? Is he there, Stel?
He's getting dressed.
Stel, are you driving and getting dressed at once? Let me come to you, Haz. I'll start with you on this one.
Okay.
Same question I just asked Stel.
A bit of both. I think we do need to buy young players because if they come available and they're highly rated, just go and buy them. At the same time, I think our academy's mismanaged, and there's a lot of players who've kind of left us have actually gone and done well. So whoever's in the academy and managing their route to the first team, or the way they've been trained, because the problem with Tottenham is that we don't have, when we bring a manager in, like Conte, for example, the youngsters don't start playing 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. They're all still playing, the standard way, right? And we had an issue under Poch as well. They weren't being taught the same sort of thing. So when you had someone like Winks come through, he wasn't ready for a high press straight away. You had to retrain him, I guess, to feel the high press. And I do think that's a factor. So the academy's been mismanaged. That's what I think, anyway.
Okay, Soren, young players.
Yep.
We've bought a lot, right? Even today, we've bought another one. Adoji, Spence, Hill, Sarr. It seems like the list is endless.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem buying young players. I think the sad thing is, every academy in every different club cannot bring top players through. So, what might suit us might not suit anything else. The one issue I will just say quickly back to Haz, when Poch was in charge, he changed the whole system all the way down to play the same system. So
we did change it. I was quite surprised because normally that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no. If you go back, then apparently, according to everybody, it was changed all the way down. It might not have filtered through in time, but that was what's supposed to have happened. Look, we can't produce 11 fantastic players. If you look at who we have, there's been a lot of players come through Spurs Academy that have had potential, but for a team that's supposedly a big team, we can't necessarily afford to put these young players in because we're not going to get the success, but we don't get the success. So it's a vicious circle. So, high hopes for Scarlett, Alfie. There's a few players in there that could come good for us. So, Kane?
Yeah. I've had high hopes for about 470 of them in the last 2 decades.
Well, exactly.
Just quickly, Charlie, before I come to you, you can have 1 minute and then Eugene 1 minute, then I must go. Tom Markenham, thank you so much for the super chat. I said, I don't get it. Haaland was 60 million euros, Richarlison 70 million. Look, I think
That's
the thing
rubbish.
with
Release clause.
The thing with Haaland, we have to remember, this was an anomaly. I think the fact that when he joined, what?
Crazy wages.
He wasn't 60 million the season before.
Hang on, let me get to the point. It is mental. It's crazy, right? But when he signed for Dortmund, he would only sign for Dortmund. The only reason they got him above loads of other clubs was because they were the ones that agreed to put a 65 million clause in his contract. And every club in Europe would have there would have been a bidding war if he was worth, it doesn't matter. If he was worth 150 million, United, City, Chelsea, everyone would have been after him anyway. So I do feel it's a bit of an anomaly. Charlie, just quickly, youth players, Spurs, should we be seeing more coming through?
Do you know what it is with the youth academy, right? I think my opinion kind of aligns with, I think Stel said it. I listened to him probably on one of your shows. He kind of mentioned the academy, and I kind of took that all in, and I kind of feel like the impression I get, this is purely based on kind of some of the players that we've seen kind of go on loan and kind of come through, like apart from the likes of Harry Kane, which is like 1 in a million. But if you look at kind of some of the players that are not necessarily they've come through, but they're kind of on the edge. Like they're going on loan to like these championship clubs or whatever it is. It seems like at Spurs, they're not trying to develop players properly in the academy. They're kind of what it seems to me. This I might be wrong, but the impression I get is they're kind of trying to create these players where they can play every position, like striker and right back, for example. That's what it seems like to me. Like, for example, you look at someone like Harvey White. He kind of plays attacking midfield, but he can also play at left back, for example. Like, this is kind of the impression I get. They're not the reason we don't have a lot come through is because I don't think they're developing them right. They're trying to make all these kind of extremely versatile players, which you're not going to get many of them in the game. Like, how many players do you get at kind of top clubs that can play every single position? Like, there's not many, is there?
Yeah, of course.
So I think that's, for me, the reason we're not bringing a lot of players through is because they're trying to do these just crazy things of like saying, yeah, we're going to develop you to play striker and right back and all these things. I think we're not purely focusing on what a player's best at. We're trying to mold them into like every position because I don't know why. That's the impression I get anyway. I might be wrong, but that's the impression I get. They're not.
It's a good point, actually.
They're not developing them correctly. That's
Absolutely.
what I see.
Okay, Eugene, wrap the show up for me, mate. Keep it to 60 seconds. I'm really got
right. Come down with it, right? Yeah, very quickly. Our academy system sucks, right? Simple as that. It sucks because we play a different system. We try to develop our youth differently. By the time it reaches the first team, right, then you change your manager, right? So at the moment, we don't have the Conte style play in our academy system, and all these players are coming out are not Conte style players, right? So they won't be able to fit into Conte's plans. That's why you see like Scarlett and Divine and White and all that are not given a chance to step up, right? Number two, right? We buy a lot of youth, right? In the end, they suck too, right? Like Clark, right? Troy Parrott, right? They all suck, right? So overall, our youth programs suck, right? Somehow or another, if we could like mirror Chelsea, right, and do something like what they do and actually get value out of it, and don't forget, maybe our club vision for the youth is not to play them at the first team, but to try to sell them and make money. That could be the problem, right? And in the end of the day, the manager who has to pick from the club, from our own youth academy, right, he's got no one. Simple as that. Simple as that. So, and like you said, right, how many loans did it take Harry Kane before he was given a chance to play? 9? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and even then, he only really played because Adebayor and Soldado weren't cutting the mustard. Guys, I do need to wrap this up. Listen, I love the Friday shows where everyone comes on, so thank you. Hopefully everyone enjoys it. Next week, if anyone wants to come on, please just join us. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, Haz. Thank you, Soren, as always. Thank you to everyone in the chat and for the super chats. It is always appreciated. And as always, it does raise money for charity. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And much love. And let's look forward to 3 points on Sunday against Nottingham Forest.
Sunday, 4:30.
Otherwise, toxic shows next week. Much love. See you later. Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Guys.